Right now, we are studying the book of Ephesians, and we are in chapter 5. And so I'm going to open that up and read that to you. We are in chapter 5, verses 1 and 2. So Ephesians chapter 5, verses 1 and 2, and we're going to jump right into it. Here's what it says. It'll be on the screen too behind me. Therefore, be imitators of God as beloved children, and walk in love, as Christ loved us and gave himself up for us, a fragrant offering and sacrifice to God. This is the word of the Lord. If someone like an outsider, someone outside the church who wasn't familiar with Christianity, were to ask you, what is a Christian's view of growth? What is a Christian's view of transformation? Like, what does the Bible say or Jesus say about how a person grows, changes, or is transformed? What would you say? What would be your answer to that question? That's a huge question. That's really big. And I believe this little passage, just two verses, has a very potent answer to that question. Okay, so we're going to be looking at what Ephesians chapter 5, verse 1 and 2 has to say about growth and change. And if you've been in the Christian life for very long, you have probably figured out, it's safe to assume that, wow, that's a harder thing to do maybe than I realized, is to grow and change. It can be challenging. And so I hope that this passage this morning is helpful to you. This week, I gave my daughter some really bad advice. She said to me that there was a boy in her class that was picking on her. And my immediate response was, oh, that means he likes you. How many times have we heard this weird advice? You know, have you guys heard that before? You tell a boy picks on a girl, and you tell the girl, that means he likes you. Think about how crazy that is. Like, that's crazy. Like, if a person likes you, they will bother you and mess with you and hurt you. It's like, where do we get that? It's some really bad advice, and I immediately took it back and explained to her, wait, no, that's not a good thing to say. I say that just to invite you to think about, there's actually a lot of really bad advice about growth in the church. There's these weird sayings, just like that saying, that have kind of like emerged in the church over the years, and I'm sure many of you have heard all of these. One of them I thought of was the phrase, let go and let God. Let go and let God. It's like, who came up with that? That's totally not good biblical advice. There's no letting go. Like the Bible calls us to keep walking, to pursue our relationship with God, disciplines. There's no letting go. It's like there's some maybe truth to it, but let go and let God is not good Christian advice on growth. Another one is, God helps those who help themselves. You guys heard that before? God helps those that help themselves. Dead wrong. No, the Bible says we love God because he first loved us. That he actually only helps the helpless. Like those who realize I'm helpless before God to obey him. I can't obey the law without his help. If God helps those who help themselves, God doesn't help anyone. That's some bad advice. Another one was, God won't give you more than you can handle. God won't give you more than you can handle. Now that one is kind of close to 1 Corinthians 10, which says, no temptation has seized you except what is common to man, and God is faithful. He will not let you be tempted beyond what you can bear. That's not the same thing, though. God won't give you more than you can handle is just not true. Every day, God gives you more than you can handle. You can't handle anything without his help. Like, you need his help to get through the Christian life. It's just not true. Every day, there's more than you can handle. You actually can't handle doing this without his help, without the Father, Son, and the Spirit, and the church all helping you along. And then the last one I would say is, there's not like one saying in particular, but it's the whole idea where you might be asking for help and someone wants to give you the silver bullet on growth. the silver bullet on growth, which could be a lot of different things, but whenever, and I've done this before, so I'm guilty, but when you say to someone, here's the one thing that you need. You only need this one thing, this one truth, this one idea. The Bible it just doesn't work that way. The Bible is just way too robust, too big, too huge of a narrative to ever give a Christian in any one moment just one thing. We need a multitude of things all the time to help us grow and transform. And so what is this passage saying about what growth looks like, and why is it important to get growth right? Getting growth right, getting transformation right is so important, because there's so many times where if you get bad wisdom on growth, down the line, you get frustrated, you get bad expectations. Like, there's a reason the Bible gives us specific, concise truth about growth and change, because there's so much frustration and burnout and difficulty people have in life when they take false ideas about growth and transformation. So, God willing, I know this sermon won't be perfect, but God willing, by His grace, He will give you some truths from His Word this morning that will help you in your journey on growth and transformation. And here's the 4 points that I have this morning. Is one, the goal of growth. What's the goal? What's the goal? Number 2, the identity of growth. Like, who are we in our growth? Number 3, the responsibility of growth. And then number 4, the power source of growth. So we have the goal, identity, responsibility, and power source. Number 1, the goal of growth. Notice here the first 5 words. Therefore, here's the goal: be imitators of God. Therefore, be imitators of God. What is the goal of our growth and our change in this Christian life? It is clear and simple: to imitate God, to be like Jesus. He is the goal. Our culture would tell you what? The goal of your growth is to be who you feel that you are. No, Christianity will have nothing to do with that. There is an objective person to look at and copy and be like, and that person is Jesus. That is the goal of our transformation. It's not to be whatever you want to be. It's to be like a person named Jesus Christ, the Savior of the universe and the God of gods and Lord of lords. Another idea here to get at that's important in our journey on growth is that we are all imitators. We are all imitators. There's no such thing as a truly original, autonomous self. There's no such thing as a true original. There has never been a person who is isolated from imitation. We're all hardwired to imitate. We come into the world imitating. Even Jesus, who was a true original in every sense of the word. He said things no one else had said before him, totally revolutionary things that he said that were very original. Even Jesus said, I only do what I see my Father doing. Even Jesus imitated his Father. When the poet John Donne said, no man is an island, he was dead right. No man is an island. If anyone actually was a truly autonomous self that was free from imitation, they would have been dead 5 days in. Like, you put a baby on an island, and a few days in, no influence, and they're dead. You can't live without influence and shaping and molding. The second we come out of our womb, not our womb, the moment we come out of a womb, we come out imitating, taking in signals with our eyes. Babies are looking, they're copying. We are all formed in thousands of different ways. We've been shaped by our parents, our teachers, our coaches, TV, music, the culture we're in. We have all been formed and shaped, and there is no avoiding it. I mean, I was thinking about this week, how much time a parent, if you have 2, 3, 4, or 5-year-old, how much time you spend saying, don't do that, don't touch that, don't grab that, don't lick that, don't punch that, don't sit on that. I mean, it's just constant. You got little kids, what are you doing? You're constantly forming them. You're constantly shaping and molding them. A wild inconsistency in our culture is that every parent is doing this. Every single parent is giving all kinds of formation instruction to their kids or they will die. And as they go along doing this, then we come along and we say, but when it comes to your identity as a person or a gender or whatever, well, that's up to you. That's wild. Like what? Well, how could we all of a sudden get to that point and you get into the most important things and then let's leave that up to a child. Now, we are all formed, we imitate. John Mark Comer, in his book, Practicing the Way, I think this might be one of the best paragraphs I read this year. Here's what he wrote. Powerful forces have a vested interest in our believing the myth that we are following no one at all. Many of the cultural liturgies that indoctrinate us daily, be true to yourself, you do you, speak your truth, can be traced back to sources with a nefarious agenda. If they, whether multinational corporations, politicians, anti-democratic government agents, marketing departments, influencers, who just want more followers, can make us believe that each person is a blank slate, just following their inner compass of our authentic self in an upward march to happiness, they can keep us blind to all the ways we've been discipled. All the ways we've been discipled, formed, and manipulated by their desires. Any skilled con artist knows the key to deceiving your mark is to get them to believe your scheme was their idea. Translation, the key to getting people to follow you is to convince them that they aren't following anyone at all. Man, I feel like that he hit the nail on the head with the cultural lie that has brainwashed so many of us. That we're this blank slate, we're not being formed, we're a true original, we're deciding what we want. No, we are shaped. Here's the beauty of Jesus in this. There was not 1 ounce of con artist in Jesus. Jesus was so wildly straight up. Like, you're being formed, you're going to imitate someone, something, make that person you imitate me. He said some crazy things. He's like, if anyone would follow me, let him deny himself, take up his cross daily, and follow me. For whoever wants to save his life will lose it. But if you listen to this, if you lose your life for my name's sake, you will find it. That's some crazy authenticity saying, hey, you're gonna follow something, follow me. Follow me. Do everything I tell you to do. If you do that, you will live. If you don't, you will die. Your life will be destroyed in all the different ways you cease to follow me. I mean, that's a beautiful thing about Jesus. Cult leaders don't work that way. I mean, other religious institutions don't work. Jesus was so wildly authentic. You follow something, follow me, and you will live. Don't follow me, and you will die, because I'm God. That was his teaching. A crucial truth here, guys, is just from this one word on imitation, is admitting I'm being formed. I have been formed. I have been shaped. I have been influenced. I have been discipled. Who or what am I imitating? Who or what am I imitating out there? And the goal of growth, imitate Jesus. He has come along and he has said, I'm calling you to follow me. You're following something. What are you following? I'm a better person to follow. And that's what we believe as Christians. Jesus is the absolute best person to follow. And we have thousands of reasons we could give you why. So that's point number one. Point number two, the identity of growth. The identity of growth. Now, this is a really fascinating thing that happens in this passage, because on the front end, he says, be imitators of God as beloved children. That's a very interesting way to say something. So there's a command here Be an imitator of Jesus. Like, be like Jesus. And then, as beloved children. So it's, you are something already. Like, the grammar of it is, you have a status already given to you, beloved child. Imitate Jesus in light of who you are. In light of your status that's been given to you, now go be like Jesus and walk in love as he, and we'll get to the next part in a minute. So what's going on here? The identity of growth is understanding and knowing your unchanging status as a believer in Jesus. When you believe in Jesus and you are born again, there is a new identity given to you. And that identity given to you is right here. Beloved child. Beloved child. And this is an unchanging status. This is a status that does not ever change once it's given to you. Now at this point, when we start talking about your identity in Jesus and how it's given to you, we've been looking at this in Ephesians the whole time. This is the point where Christianity, there's a fork in the road. There's a fork in the road, and this is the point where Christianity veers off and is unlike every other religion in the world. This is every other religion in the world has different things they may veer off at. Here is where Christianity veers off into a completely different direction. And it's totally different than every other religion. And it is this: the identity that you have in Christ is not earned. The identity that you have, the status that you have, like the role that you have been given, is not earned. It is only received. It is given by grace. It is given to you by grace. In fact, it's given to you in spite of your performance, not because of your performance. And this is huge when it comes to growth. This is huge. This is so important to get so grounded, because in the next point, when we get to walking, when we get to the part where we're responsible to do something, walk, if we don't get this part right, we will be crushed in our attempt to perform. If you don't get this right, your motivation in your growth will be about performing before God. What the gospel is saying is that Christ has earned for you a status, and it's been given to you, and it's beloved child. And there's nothing you do to get it. It's given as a gift of grace. You receive it and you believe it, and it's yours. If you miss that, you will be crushed in your growth, either by delusional pride, or you will be crushed by shame and guilt. You will be crushed by delusional pride because you will be walking along thinking the good things in your life, the good things that you do, any growth that happens, you get the credit for it. You get the glory for it. And you will be missing, you've missed the law. You've missed that God has given a law, and there's no way you could ever perform it the way that he wants you to. You just pull out the 10 Commandments. That'd be a great place to start. Don't ever lie. Don't ever lust. Don't ever, hate your neighbor. Don't ever covet. Like, just give you a couple of them, not even all of them. And all of us have failed. And all of us will fail. It crushes us. It crushes us in a good way to then look up at Jesus and realize he is the only way I am going to be a beloved child. He is the only way that God is going to love me perfectly, by looking to what he has done. Or you will be crushed by your shame and guilt. On the other side of it, you will walk along and just constantly be feeling ashamed and guilty, realizing all the different ways that you fall short. But both of those is not the path that Jesus has invited you on. He's invited you on a path that says he's going to say, walk as a beloved child, knowing that there's nothing you can do to make him love you more. Has that sunk in for you? There's no good works you could do to make his love for you increase. Man, that is a powerful truth to rest in. The other side of that coin is there's nothing you can do to make him love you less. There's nothing you can do to make God love you less. God, if you are a beloved child, that means you are a child who's beloved by the Father. He loves you 100%, 100% of the time. That, we have to have that to grow as a believer. If not, we will be crushed by delusional pride, or we will be crushed by shame and guilt. The church, if you look in church history, the church in church history has done some really weird things, when it comes to growth. There was a time in a corner of the church in New England where someone who were to be caught in adultery, they would get a little fabric A and sew it to your clothes. And then you would have to wear that around. I don't know if it was for the rest of your life. It was at least for a time. Now, we look at that and we think, that's crazy. How in the world is that going to help people? But in their minds, they thought this is going to help people grow and transform by putting A's on people's clothing if they've been caught in adultery. Another place that was a really weird thing that the church did in a corner of the church is if you were like wrestling with evil desires. They would say, take a leather whip and whip yourself in the back to kind of like suppress those evil desires. So almost like punish yourself to kind of get control of your evil desires. Now we look at that and we also say, okay, that's crazy. That is not going to help you. That is just going to make things worse. Now, as you just heard those two examples, in your mind you might think, that's crazy. Who would come up with that and who would do that? Guys, are you any different? The way that you speak to yourself sometimes. The way that you speak to yourself harshly and you lie to yourself and you call yourself names like you're stupid, you're so ugly, you're so dumb, you're such a failure. When you start speaking to yourself that way, you are speaking lies. You are speaking the language of the devil. Who you are is a beloved child. You are a beloved child. You are loved perfectly. It's also crazy when, if you mess up in your growth in your life, you want to punish yourself and you want to do things to hurt yourself or to say mean things or to put yourself in relationships where you allow other people to hurt you because you think you deserve it. Guys, how is that any different than taking a whip and whipping yourself across the back? It is different, but it's the same kind of heart that fails to recognize, no, the punishment for your sin and your failure has been fully deposited out upon Jesus Christ upon the cross. And there is no more punishment left for you. The only thing left for you is God the Father looking at you saying, beloved child, beloved child. This passage is a radical invitation into some scandalous grace. It's scandalous. Saying no matter what you do, God's love for you will not change. That is scandalous. And it's amazing. And it's what changes our hearts. Our walk with God is a walk in an identity that's been given that we have not earned. Imagine it like this. Imagine if you were to take a walk, if you have a kid, if you were to take a walk with your child, and they were to ask you, Dad or Mom, why do you love me? Why do you love me? You love me, you say you love me. Why do you love me? Now, if a parent were to say to a kid, I love you because of the grades you make, or I love you because of how well you perform on the field, or I love you because of how you look, or I love you because of how you act, I love you because you clean your room, I love you for whatever. As soon as you start saying, I love you because of anything other than, I love you because you're my child. I love you because of who you are. I love you because of who I am, your father or your mother. You're beginning to kind of miss the heart of God. If you say to a kid, if a kid receives from his parent in some way or another, they loved me because of my performance. I'm a product to them, and they love me because of my grades, or they love me because of how I do on the field. And it's not that we don't encourage good things to happen. I'm not saying that. Well, what begins to happen? Their identity is now wrapped up in something that is frivolous, something they do that could change, and it creates insecurity and instability in the relationship. God the Father has come along, and I will not hold back on this. He has come along, and he is saying to you, his child, I love you because I love you. I love you because I choose to love you. Even Israel, if you look in Deuteronomy 7, when God chose Israel, there's this cool passage that says, it gets at why did God choose Israel, a people? And it says he chose them not because of their size, not because they were great in number, but then he says, but because he chose them. I chose you because I chose you. I chose you because I love you. I love you because I love you is what the heart of the passage is saying. It's not because of Israel's performance. If it was, he would have deserted them a whole long time ago. God loves us because he loves us. We are his beloved child, and that is crucial for growth. Number 3, the responsibility of growth. The responsibility of growth. It says here, therefore, be imitators of God as beloved children and walk. Walk. We have, as beloved children, a responsibility. We have agency. We are a part of our growth. We are responsible to walk. There's a clear command here, walk. Walk in love. Walk with God. We've talked about this before, but the word walk is a massively significant word used in the New Testament to describe our activity in the Christian life. Every single New Testament book, other than 1 Peter and Peter's books, every single New Testament book uses the word walk as a massive word for describing the Christian life. It's one of the chief metaphors for what we're doing in this Christian life. It's walking. It says we do not walk according to the lust of the flesh. Do not walk in darkness. Do not walk according to the world. Walk not in drunkenness or sexual immorality. Do not walk undisciplined. Walk not as unwise men, but we are careful how we walk. We walk in newness of life. Walk by the Spirit. Walk according to love. Walk by faith. Walk in love. Walk in the patterns of the apostles. Walk in Christ. Walk in a way that pleases God. Walk in the light. Walk in truth. Walk according to the commandments. And in heaven, in Revelations, it says the nations will do what? What will all the nations do of believers? Walk by the light of God's presence. We will walk with God for all of eternity. We start walking, we're never going to stop walking. The walk never ends. Now, why would he use the word walk? Why does the Bible use the word walk instead of stand? Or walk instead of sit? Or walk is used a lot more than run. Run's used a few times, but walk is used way more than run. Walk is not in a hurry, but walk is intentional. Walking is intentional. Our growth requires our intentional activity. We have to do an assortment of things to grow. Read the Bible, pray, enter into fellowship, show up to gathered worship when it's hard, serve, give. There's all these activities that we do that are a huge part of us growing as a believer. Walking is slow. Walking takes a slower amount of time than running. Walking is slow. I think it's important to understand that our growth is slow and almost sometimes imperceivable. Like, is that a word? Imperceivable? When I went on a hike in the mountains this summer, it was a long hike up to a 13,000-foot mountain peak with my brother and my brother-in-law and my nephew. And as we were walking, there were times where it was like you're just right up on the edge of this huge, massive mountain, and you would walk for 10 minutes, and you're like, did I even go anywhere? Like, I feel like we haven't gotten any closer to the peak of this mountain. Sometimes Christian growth is like that. You're walking along and you're like, am I growing at all? Oftentimes, growth in the Bible is also compared to organic life, the growth of a tree. If you guys have ever planted a tree in your front yard and you look at it, there's never a moment where you have ever seen the tree actually grow visibly. Like, you haven't ever seen it just go, like shoot out a leaf. But if you look at it and a year later, look back at it, what's happened? Well, it has grown. That's much like the Christian life. The Christian life requires a lot of patience because it takes time, but what you do is just keep every day taking the steps. You just keep taking the steps and you keep walking, and over time, you get to a different destination. There's a book called How Sanctification Works by a guy, David Powlison. This book, How Sanctification Works. That word sanctification is just a big fancy word for growth and transformation. And he submits 5 elements to our growth. 1, the Bible. 2, suffering is a part of our growth. Wise people, God is a part of our growth. And then he has another one that surprises people a lot. You are a part of your growth. In my experience talking to people about spiritual growth, I would submit, if you had to pick one of those 5 that people leave out the most when they talk about it, it's the you. The you. It makes sense. We don't want to have to be responsible for our growth. And we also don't want to be blamed when we don't grow. But here's the deal. When you hear walk, you have to know, look at this passage. It is sandwiched. It is the meat and the sandwich, the bread that holds this thing together. On both sides of you is these amazing things that God does. 1, he calls you his beloved child. He calls you his beloved child. So walk as a beloved child. The other one is walk in love as Christ gave himself up for you as a fragrant offering and sacrifice to God. So as you walk, you are walking in total security. You are walking in total security, knowing however many times you fall down in the walk, Jesus is going to be there to pick you up. He has already called you his beloved child. He has already given up his life on a cross to die for you and to save you. And he has promised no matter how many times you fall, he will be there to pick you up. There's a Finnish Orthodox writer named Tito Kalliander, and he tells a story about a monk who was once asked, "What do you do in the monastery? What are you guys doing there?" And he said, "We fall and get back up. We fall and get back up. We fall and we get back up." That's so true to life. So often in the Christian life, you fall and you get back up. Maybe what he left out, though, which is crucial, is Jesus is the one that's just standing there with you, never leaving you, never forsaking you, picking you up, keeping you going. I was in seminary once, and in this one seminary class that I was in, the professor asked a question, and he said, "What is the most famous Christian song written in our generation?" So what's the most famous Christian song written in our generation? So a classroom full of people, and they start naming songs, and he's like, no, I don't think that's it. I don't think that's it. And people are like, what is left? You know, those seem to be the top picks. What's going on? So he takes out a piece of paper, and he begins passing it around the classroom. And as the paper is being passed around the classroom, I'm in the back left of the corner of the room, so I'm like one of the last people to see it. But as it's passing around, I hear, one lady almost screams. I'm like, what did he put on this piece of paper? It's like getting a verbal reaction. One dude's like, oh, And so it comes to me, and it says, "You too, I still haven't found what I'm looking for. You too, I still haven't found what I'm looking for." So first, he's got to make the case that this is a Christian song. If he does that, then it's definitely the most famous of all the Christian songs that have come out, because no Christian songs touch anything U2's done. So he makes the case, and he says, look, the song, "I still haven't found what I'm looking for." He goes through this catalog of different things he's looked to for life, right? And as he goes through these things that he's looked to for life, the chorus comes, "But I still haven't found what I'm looking for." And then there's this really edgy part for Christians where he talks about the cross, and he talks about Jesus taking away our shame. He's talking about the act of salvation that Jesus has accomplished for us on the cross. And then he says, "I still haven't found what I'm looking for." Even though he said, I believe it. So I believe it, but I still haven't found what I'm looking for. So I'm not saying this, but the professor was making the case that this song was more in line with many of the Psalms than many of our Christian songs. Because many of the Psalms in the Bible are laments. They are lamenting the challenge of life, the challenge of growth, the challenge of knowing God and understanding what we're going through in life. And there's some Psalms that even end in darkness, and just the psalmist just ends like, "I don't know what's going on, I give up," And that's a psalm. We'll look at one this next series, Psalm 88. Read it. But here's what I think that I love this song about is that when you talk about growth, here's what's true about growth. Here's what's true about growth. You still haven't found what you're looking for. It's a walk, but you are not going to, I just want to be honest with you. I want to get your expectations straight. We are not one of those churches that's going to tell you, if you believe in Jesus, everything is just going to be happy-go-lucky for the rest of your life. No, it's actually going to be harder in many ways. Here's the deal. I still haven't found what I'm looking for. You are not going to reach your glorified state where you get a resurrected body until you die or Jesus returns. That's crucial to understand in our walk, knowing the walk doesn't end until we die. The walk is going to be challenging until we die. The walk is going to be filled with suffering. It's going to be a good story, but it's going to be hard. But you have to keep going, knowing, yes, at the end when Jesus comes back, we will keep walking. The walk doesn't end, but we will walk with a new body. But that doesn't happen until you die or Jesus comes back. I just want to be clear about that here. At Trinity Church, in a sense, we still haven't found what we're looking for. Jesus is who we're looking for. We believe that. But you are not done growing until the end. And then you'll probably still be growing in a weird way without sin. I don't know how that's going to work, but that's what we got to work with. Last point, point number 4. What is the power source for our growth? Look at what he says. In love, as Christ loved us and gave himself for us, a fragrant offering and sacrifice to God. Guys, the power source is clear. It is Jesus Christ and what he has done for us on the cross. What Jesus has done for us on the cross is he's looked at us and he has said to us, yes, you have failed, you will continue to fail, but I have given up my life for you as a fragrant offering. What is this about? He's our substitutionary atonement. The life that we could not live, he lived for us. The death we should have died, he died in our place. And then the life that he earned, the status that he earned of beloved son, he's now given us his very own status, beloved child. So when God looks at you, if you have trusted in Jesus for your salvation and believed in him, when the Father looks at you, he looks at you the same way he looks at his perfect son, Jesus. That is what the cross has accomplished for you. And guys, getting that, and that is the power source to grow and imitate him. We can't give what we have not received. The more we look at Jesus and see who he is and what he's done, the passage we saw last week, forgive others as Christ has forgiven you. So when we come to the table, what are we doing? We come to this table to remember this truth by tasting it with our mouths. That when we were sinners, when we were rebels, when we were failures, Jesus allowed his body to be broken for us in our place on the cross. When we were sinners, when we were rebels, when we did not deserve God's love, when we were not lovable, Jesus shed his blood for you in your place so that now the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit have invited you in. And you are his child, not because of you, but because of Christ. So he gets all the glory, but we get the benefit of being one of his children. So let's take of the cup and the bread this morning and worship him for what he's done.